So I'm going to talk to the folks that are watching this online because, as most of you know, that we segment what's online, and I'm going to pitch what we just experienced in the room. So if you're watching this, you've chosen to pick the message, and that's great. Thank you. Stay with us. We'll have a great time here. But I also want you to go find the installation of Michael Voccio as a practitioner, because you're going to want to hear what he says. You're going to want to hear his treatment. And Barbara was on the stage for this, and you were going to want to watch that. And there go the numbers. That's great. So there's a pandemic going on. Have you all heard about that? And what I've been doing week to week is thinking about what is it that we're having to confront and look at within ourselves, being in the midst of this crazy time. What is it that we have to do to stay centered and clear as we do our work? And what came to me this week was the idea of choice, the idea that we all are making choices. And we're being influenced by what we're hearing either on the news or that we're hearing from other people about what this whole pandemic is about. And we're making choices based on a lot of that information. So let's talk about choices today and how this works. First of all, I want to say that a choice has a dichotomy to it. It has two very different parts to it. One is, and the thing that is incredibly important, is that our choices actually influence all of our lives. When we make a choice, it sends us in a direction towards something for some specific outcome that we have decided, no, I was careful, I was not smart, not decided, but that we have chosen to go to. The other part of it is that choices can be changed in an instant, in a heartbeat. You can say, okay, I choose that. No, wait a minute. No, I'm going to choose this. And it's perfectly fine. The word choice comes from the root word choose, which is Old English, and it means to sample or try. It comes from, or taste. That's the origin idea of the word choice. Now, most people think that the word choice and the word decide are the same thing, that they're interchangeable, and they're not. They're very different words. The word decide actually comes from the Latin, meaning to kill off something, to turn off something, to turn away from something, but more to kill off. And if you think about words that end in CIDE, suicide, homicide, insecticide, pesticide, herbicide, there's all kinds of words, and they all mean to kill something. So the word decide is about killing something. What is it killing? It's killing off all the other options, all the other possibilities that you could be looking at choosing from, but not choosing if you decide, because then you've killed everything off and you're stuck with this one, and that's the way it's going to be. Now, do people use it that clearly? Maybe not all the time. But think about that distinction if you're going to choose or decide on something, that you're really blocking yourself in with a decision. Where a choice, even though it's equally as important, equally as valuable in understanding that we are moving in that direction from that choice, it's different than deciding. So choose. My first spiritual teacher, said that choosing was being at cause point. And I always like that idea, being at cause point. What he was saying is that anytime you choose something, you're actually creating, you're standing at cause, creating an effect in your life. And some people don't think about that. They're much narrower in how they're experiencing that with a choice. But a choice really is about creating a condition in your life. And that's important. It's helpful to understand that that's actually what's going on in the midst of that. My second spiritual teacher encouraged me always to make choices and never to make decisions for exactly the reason I've already explained to you. He said that if you're going to decide, you're going to limit yourself. And if you're going to choose, you're going to be free to do what you need to do. And here's a thought that kind of really goes with this. Maybe if I turn that on, it'll work. There it goes. There we go. Everything in your life is a reflection of a choice you have made. If you want a different result, make a different choice. It's really that easy. But if you think about it, the places where we use choice, in our wedding ceremony that Barbara and I do with people, the word is, I choose you to be my husband, or I choose you to be my wife. It's not, I decided for you to be my wife. That just doesn't work. It's a choice. I believe that decisions are more heady and that choice is more heart-centered. And that when we choose something, we're embracing it. We're not kind of forcing it. We're choosing it. And by choosing something, we have a better relationship with it. Some people say, well, I didn't have a choice. That's not true. That's the beauty of choices, is there's always more than one. Oh, no, I had to choose this. It was my only choice. When they say that to me, when someone says that to me, what I'll tell them is, well, that's not true. And they'll go, what do you mean? I said, well, I can name other choices you have right now. And they're perplexed because they've convinced themselves that this is the only thing they could do. Now, it may be that they didn't like the other choices or the other possible choices they could make when I would suggest them. But that doesn't mean they're not there. They're still there. So don't limit yourself, because when we think we have no choice, we become powerless. And the whole concept of choice is that we get to choose. We get to pick it. We get to say what it is. We get to say the direction that we're going. We get to embrace it. It's not that we're stuck with something ever in a choice. It's always our choice. We get to choose. It's empowering to be at choice point. It's always a better thing than to say, I'm somehow forced to do this. Because then something has something over you. And who wants to have something over them? Something that they have to do because it's an obligation, or they just really have to go in that direction. No, we don't. We're always at choice. We always get to pick. And when we do, then we take responsibility for it. And if once we've made that choice, we decide at some point that that's not working out very well for us, then we reassess. Maybe I'll choose something else. And nobody makes you wrong. You get to choose constantly. Constantly we get to choose. And Holmes was very clear about this. His words around this idea were, we cannot live a choiceless life. Every day, every moment, every second, there is choice. If it were not so, we would not be individuals. So the whole idea of being a sentient being on planet Earth, especially in this human experience, is that we have choice. I think it's wonderful to be able to choose. I like the idea of choice. I say to Barbara that I wake up every morning and I choose you. That empowers me. If I had to do it out of some obligation, it would wear on me. But it doesn't, because I choose it. I'm right where I am because I want to be. I take full responsibility. And if you listen to Barbara's words in the Best of Barbara today, she was saying the same thing. That we are a choice, that we do have that intrinsic power within us to make our choices joyously, lovingly, happily. And when we do, it works. Now, some people say that you can make a good choice or you can make a bad choice. You can imagine that, right? Or a wrong choice. The idea that, ooh, wow, what if I made the wrong choice? What if I made a bad choice in my life? It'd be like standing at a sign that said that. I find it interesting that bad choices are to the right and good choices are to the left, if you want to put a political spin on it. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that came to mind when I saw this sign. So I disagree. I don't think that we can call choices bad or good. We have the right to choose. And when we choose a direction or an outcome or something in our life, when we consciously choose, we're going to get the outcome that goes with that choice. And you're not going to get away from that. So is this a bad thing? No, it's a reliable thing. You can count on it. So if you make a choice, and the other part of that, of course, is you make the choice, it doesn't feel like you like what's happening, make another choice. Go in a different direction. Do something different. It's always there. It never goes away. That door never closes. You're always at that place where you can do that. So there are ways, though, that we can be more informed in how we approach our choices. And I've got my 4 standards that I will apply to this. That think about what you're choosing, and if it falls into one of these 4 categories, maybe think about that and think about how that will affect the outcome. The first one, and these are not actually on there, you're going to have to listen to me to get them. The first one is if there's any blame or judgment involved of yourself or someone else. If that's impacting your choice, be very careful, because that could backfire on you. Because when we blame others, we're kind of digging a hole and making life harder and seeing fault and creating separation. So I invite you really strongly not to make your choices based on your judgment of others and you're blaming anyone or even yourself for anything. That's not going to help make this a smooth transition into some new reality that you're choosing. The second one is that if there's any shame involved in it, if you're making a choice because you're ashamed of something you did or something someone else did and you have some connection that causes you to feel shame, don't choose it that way. Avoid that, because shame is this mask that creates real hardship in our hearts, in our lives, because we're all doing the best we know how. No matter what has happened in our past, so long as it's not happening now, we don't have to sweat it. It's okay. Does that mean there could be some restrictions on our lives? Sure. But still, being ashamed of our past does not carry us into a bright future. The next one is if you have any regrets. If you have anything that you regret in life and you're making a choice based on those regrets, you're going to fall into the same kind of hole. You're going to limit yourself that way as well. And the other one is failure. If you think that from a failure of the past that you should choose something or that you anticipate some failure in the future, that's not going to get you very far. So blame, shame, regret, and failure are the things you want to avoid in making choices in your life. And from that place, there's this idea of stories in our lives. Because every time you tell a story, it's a choice. And when you're telling a story to someone, you're not just telling it to them. You're telling it to yourself. You're reinforcing it in yourself. So be very mindful of the stories that you tell and the choice you make to tell a story. And I have a personal story around that today that I want to share with you. Last week, I got a lovely email from one of our practitioners. And in the email, the practitioner said that she was inspired by me. And it was just such a gracious and beautiful email, and how much she admired and appreciated me. And I sat with that. And apparently I was in a little bit of a hole in that moment, a little down. And I wrote her back and told her that sometimes I feel alone and sometimes I feel overwhelmed. And in that moment, that's kind of how I was feeling. I thanked her for her kind words. I sent that off and I went on with my day. The next morning I woke up saying, "What the hell did you do? Why did you say those things?" And it doesn't matter whether that had happened or not. Why was I holding on to it? So I wrote her another email and said, "Boy, I dumped on you yesterday." Again, she was so gracious and so sweet to me and said she didn't see it that way. She said that I was trusting her with what was going on in my heart. And she was just amazing. Yet I still realize that I'm the one that brought that stuff up. And what I was doing with that was cleaning it up. I'm cleaning it up right now. that I'm not alone. There's nothing in my life that gets me to be alone. And I am not overwhelmed because I have love in my life. That I said to that beautiful, wonderful person was a lie. And the truth is better than that. So I will not tell that story again. And I invite you to look at the stories you tell. Because in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of social unrest and political unrest and all the else that's going on in this country, in this world, we don't have time and energy to give more to that. Our work is to know who we are, to be aware of the divine presence that we are, and to live from that, and to have our words match that, to be that we are wanting in the world. And if we can't do that, then our choices aren't very smart. So I invite us all to look at our stories and choose our words carefully. Not out of fear. There's nothing to fear, because you're going to get the outcome of whatever you put out. And if I had not caught myself in the midst of that, and I'm very grateful that that happened, if I had not caught myself, I'd be building a bigger story about how hard life is. I guarantee you there are lots and lots of people in this world that are doing that right now. Alcohol purchases are through the roof. Suicides, off the charts. Murders, street violence. It's out of control. It's all part of the same thing. Because people are making choices to find problems and to have things be wrong, instead of opening their hearts to all the good that's here. So think about that when you're making choices about what's going across your mind or what's coming out of your mouth. See how that plays for you. I got a hit on how we can understand this idea of choices being retractable and changeable instantly. Is there anybody here that does not go on a computer? All right, I have the right audience. Ocean, you'll get it anyway. When you go when you Google, you're going to go look for some information online. You put something in the field for Google, and up comes a list of things. What's the first thing you do? You take your little mouse and with the pointer, and you go to something, and you click it. That was a choice. What comes up? I don't know, whatever was probably first listed on Google, because that's what I end up doing most of the time. And you go there and you look around, and maybe there's a menu at the top of that particular site, and you hit something and it gives you a drop down, and you click something else. Every one of those clicks is a choice. But here's the beauty, and here's what makes the point. In the upper left-hand corner of your screen is a little back arrow. All you have to do is go up there and click, and it'll take you back to the screen before. Click again, it'll do it again. Click again, it'll do it again. It's just that easy in life. Each one of those clicks to move forward was a choice, and each one to go back was a choice, because that wasn't what I was looking for. So I get back to the Google screen, and I scroll down, and I pick something else, and I go, that's a choice. Maybe this one's what I wanted. Maybe I find the thing I was looking for. This is a perfect example of how life works. We get to choose. Isn't what we want? Okay, let's choose something else until we find what we want. It's okay to make choices. It's okay to move forward in life. Now, people think that that the choices can be hard. Do you know why people think that they can be hard? Because you think that you can make a mistake. Because you think that you could do something wrong. And I want you to know you can't. Because if you're choosing and you don't like what you got, choose something else. It's that simple. Holmes has something, if this doesn't sound like it's really working for you, Holmes is going to speak some of what Barbara said in her Best of Barbara today about how he approached it. And it's a little dualistic, but it's still okay. Well, Barbara's a little dualistic in what she said, so it fits perfectly. Here's what Holmes said. If we have to make a choice and feel we do not know which or what to choose, we must be still in our own consciousness and know that Spirit within us knows which is the most constructive way and will guide us. Spirit knows the way. So it's not really dualistic at all. The truth is that the spirit that he speaks of in that phrase is you. Because at the depth of your being, you know the most constructive way. Sometimes you just have to stop the chattering, that ego thing that's trying to tell you you can't do this because you've never done it before. But you can, because truly you can do anything. You can do whatever you set forth to do, pandemic or not. It's your choice. You get to choose. So I want to close with a couple of quick quotes that just dazzled me when I went looking for quotes. Recognize her, Carolyn Mace? Amazing. She says, always go with the choice that scares you the most, because that's the one that's going to help you grow. Oh, crap. Remember those words. When you're facing something that looks difficult, go with the one that scares you the most, because it will help you grow. I've seen people do that in this room. I've seen amazing choices made by people in this room to move forward in their life. The one that comes to mind is Tiana, when she decided she was going to become a real estate broker. Does it now in the midst of a pandemic? That is her path. And yet, what courage to do that. What value that brings to her life, to her children's life, to her customers, because she made that choice. And I'll bet most of you in this room have made choices to do things that weren't the easy path. They weren't the nice way or the quick way or the way that was probably most reliable. Sometimes you step beyond that and make a choice that looks a little scary. Being afraid only means that you're doing something or looking at doing something that you've never done before. That's all it means. If you'd done it before, you'd know how it turned out and you wouldn't have a problem. So being afraid simply means you're stretching yourself and growing. Thank you, Carolyn Mace, for that. And this is the quote of the day. Here we go. Coach John Wooden, UCLA basketball coach. There is a choice you have to make in everything you do. So keep in mind that in the end, the choice you make makes you. Isn't that great? Wise man. Your choices do make you. Your life is a series of choices. You're choosing all the time. And I'm inviting you today to recognize this is not a problem. This is where your power lies. You get to pick. You get to choose. And when you do, you get the life you want, because you are an amazing being of love and light, living in an extraordinary time when great things can happen. And that's the truth. I love you all very much. Thank you.